Okay, so we're back at it again with another Nom Studios podcast. This time we have Ryan Chaplin with Brightside Restoration with us. How are you?
Doing all right, Theo. Thanks for having us in. We're excited.
I know, thank you, thank you. You are the president of our BNI chapter,
Yes,
and that's how we know each other. You've
absolutely.
been holding it down for almost a year now, right?
Yeah, we're creeping up on a year in July, and what did we start out together at like 15 people, and we're almost
Yeah,
up to 40 members of that chapter.
yeah.
Second
Fastest,
largest chapter in Suffolk County.
second largest in Suffolk
Yeah,
County. Okay, who do
yeah.
we have to catch up? What's the number we have to catch up to?
The number we have to catch up to is 100, but I
Okay,
think
we
that,
got that.
yeah, we could get there. But the truth is, I think what we've built there together is something that has quality. We're not
Hmm.
worried about quantity, and
Yeah.
we're worried about focusing on relationships and growth. And I
Hmm.
think there's something when you get to that big of a chapter, maybe you lose some intimacy.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's necessarily the goal,
Yeah.
but we're doing some good things. We're having a good time there, as you know.
Quality over quantity. Yeah, I had Stacy in here this morning, and you know how we love Stacy.
Love Stacy. We could all use Stacy in our lives,
Oh, absolutely.
no
To
doubt.
ground yourself, to be in the now.
Give you a little reset. We're all going a million miles an hour, and she
Absolutely.
somehow gets you into a better place. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me about Brightside Restoration. And, you mentioned that Brightside takes a different approach in the restoration industry. So tell me how
Yeah,
you guys
so
got started and
so the restoration space is an interesting space to be in, right? It's very emergency driven,
Mhm.
obviously. And you're meeting people usually in their homes at probably one of the most sensitive times
Mm,
in their lives. They're vulnerable. And when you talk about someone's home, it is probably one of their biggest investments in their at that particular time, right? So again, a lot of people are in the space. And what do you think of when you think of restoration? You think of someone's going to come in, rip my house apart, drop some fans down, and they're going to disappear.
yeah.
And that's never been the approach that we've taken at Brightside. So I was fortunate. The owner, Amy Levine,
Mhm.
and her husband, John, who's my partner, um, took an approach that we want to be dedicated customer service driven people. And so I was fortunate enough to partner with them. And what we deliver to the customers is an approach that's focused on, again, service, caring, and compassion, which I think is really what's missing
Mhm.
in that transaction for these homeowners. When they're faced with, you know, for me, it was interesting. I've known John and Amy for a number of years. They've been in the business for well over 5 years. Brightside's been incorporated for 5 years. I had known them through networking, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
through a BNI chapter. And when we met, it was, I knew them through the group.
Mhm.
Um, Came home from vacation a couple of years ago, and my son says to me, "Dad, there's a bubble in the ceiling." I'm like, "Oh boy." I kind of knew what that
The-
meant. I had been in the home services industry for a while, so I had
Mhm.
some knowledge of what was going to be I was facing. But you realize, like, I just came back from this glorious vacation.
Yeah.
There's obviously a leak in my ceiling, and before you know it, John's in the house. I have no ceiling in my living room and dining room. There was mold up there because it was a pipe leak from a pinhole leak that was probably going on for quite some time that I
Yeah.
never noticed until it got so bad that the ceiling was about to drop.
Yeah.
And the way he came in and helped me through that process, with as much as I knew, it didn't matter because
Mhm.
who cared at that point? My knowledge didn't matter. I was just upset. My wife was having a heart attack,
Yeah.
and organically, John and I started talking, and he's like, we're about to really grow,
Mhm.
and I know what you're about, and we would love to partner with you and get you in here and help us grow this business. And it's been a great marriage collaboration because he cares and
Yeah.
Amy cares, and the focus of the company is to help these folks through a really tough time, and we do it with not just quality work and
Mhm.
craftsmanship, but knowledge. Knowing the insurance industry
Yeah.
is tricky.
Yeah.
You have to know the ins and outs of it, know how to handle
That's a battle
the
you have to have
adjusters.
every day.
Yeah, and as a homeowner, you think about it. You have home insurance. How often do you use it?
It's only in the I haven't
Maybe
used it.
never. Maybe never.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that the truth is, you may never put a claim in if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So what experience do you have? Zero.
Mhm.
So we can come in. We're going to make that call with you to the insurance company. We're going to walk you through the language, how to speak to them, so that there aren't any hiccups. We know how to get your claims processed expeditiously. And then we partner with, on the rebuild side, some great contractors. We have, a couple of companies that we really, really work closely with to help you get your house put back together
Mm-hmm.
just as quickly. And that's really the key, is to get that, done in a manner that, makes you feel whole again. You think about it, right? You may plan a project in your house, and that's an exciting time,
Yeah.
right? Oh, we're going to renovate our kitchen. Oh,
Yeah.
we're going to redo our bathroom. It's not so exciting when the ceiling's coming down and there's water dripping out of your cabinets. That's
Yeah.
not an expected fun project, and
Yeah.
it's also an expensive one.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's really what we're about, is really taking this industry and making it boutique, a hand-holding service, and getting you safe and in a place where you can be comfortable at a really difficult time.
It's pretty all encompassing for a boutique business.
Yes.
Like, the whole concierge type of service you give, from the insurance to working with the contractors to the estimation, and to call yourself a boutique company and not so boutique feel. That's like,
It's a hard line to walk.
yeah.
But that's, I think, what the secret sauce is to Brightside Restoration, is that we will get your house mitigated, get your damage under control really quickly, and then we don't stop there. A lot of restoration companies stop there. So now you're okay, you're dry, you're going to get dry, but then what? When you have questions, is anyone going to answer the phone? Not only will we show up at your house within an hour, but every time you call, we're going to answer.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Like, how do you keep that 1 hour response time? Isn't that tough nowadays?
It's strategic, and it was part of the growth plan at Brightside. So, we have an office based in Farmingdale. We have an office based in Central Islip. And then, of course, we operate some additional satellite offices, facilities, I'll say. So it allows John and I to cover a lot of ground very quickly. And so strategically, we're set up to get to these homes quickly, and that's probably the most important thing in this, is that you want to be there fast and you want to get things under control quickly. It's actually how to help move the process along with the insurance company. You can't let these damages sit and fester. You want to get it under control as fast as possible. That's how you show that you're not negligent on your own property.
Yeah.
And so that's the first step to help you through that process, is say, we got here, we started this right away. We mobilize. We don't just show up at your house and shake your hand and start the chatting process. Once we get that moved past that initial step, we will be back on site that day with equipment, and we can get that work started.
So, okay, so it's spring, almost summer. What are typical things that you see going around at this time of year?
This is the time of year where people actually make some mistakes. I think everyone's very cognizant in the winter, freezing pipes.
Yeah.
You're thinking, oh, the things can happen now. So you're kind of focused on it. This is the time of year where you almost get tricked, I'll say. Those pinhole leaks are big issues. What you see a lot of now is people going away. They're going on vacation, spring breaks, planning some summer vacations. The college planning is going on. People are going to visit schools.
Yeah.
You're out of your house for a week, and you come back, and something now is festering.
Yeah.
And people make a mistake. A common mistake is that, oh, it's just a small leak.
I could deal with that later.
Not really the way this works. You know what I'm saying? So what could be potentially happening, is that leak could have been going on for a month.
Yeah.
You're just seeing the evidence of it now.
Yeah.
But behind that wall, you could have mold,
Yeah.
floor damage to your subfloor.
Okay.
So it's not the kind of thing that you even want to necessarily handle yourself, right? Your instinct might be, oh, I'll just dry it myself and it'll be okay. It's not going to be okay. You got to get that open. You have to really probe and make sure you're getting in there and doing the right thing to take care of your home. Again, that all comes back to that, protecting your investment.
So walk me through the first 24 hours. I get home, I see a bubble in my ceiling, like what happened to you. I'm just like, shit. Like, call Brightside Restoration. You're there within an hour. What's like the next 24 hours to a couple of days look like?
So, that first 24 hours is the most important. So it's a good question. We're going to get in. The first thing we're going to do is evaluate the scene, and we're going to do a thorough inspection of your home. And all of our inspections are absolutely free, and there's no commitment to call the insurance company. We don't have to call the insurance company. If you prefer to, just handle it on your own with us, we can certainly work that out with you. But we're going to come in with moisture meters. We do infrared detection. If we have to detect
Mm,
slab leaks, for example, if you live on a slab and you have a pipe buried in that slab, but you see moisture coming up, it's not going
yeah,
to be easy to find that leak.
yeah,
We can find that with the special equipment that we have. Once we pinpoint where that leak is, now we're going to go sort of widen our range. How far is the impact of
yeah.
this damage, right? We'll make that determination based on our knowledge. We're going to give you a quick assessment of like this is going to be impactful.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of damage is it? Is it a supply line? What does that mean? That means it's just water coming out of the. It's clean water. It's clean water coming out of what would go to your faucet. But what if
Yeah.
it's not clean water? What if it's a waste line?
Oh,
Not so much fun.
no.
So that clogged toilet or that cracked waistline behind your wall that's now seeping out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it.
Yeah.
We like jokingly call it code brown. Um, Sewage water. Now you're putting yourself in a position where you have
get sick.
contaminants
Yeah.
that could be behind that wall. So we're not only going to determine the source of the leak, but what type of leak is it? Okay. Um, we're going to walk you through the steps. Should this be an insurance claim? If you agree that it is, we're going to then probably call the insurance company with you there on the spot. Get that claim called in immediately. If you don't have a plumber yet, we have the network to bring the plumber in to assist you to now get the actual issue fixed.
Yeah.
So then we can really properly do the mitigation. Once we call that claim in, depending on the time of day, if it's early in the day, we're gonna come back that day with our trucks. We're gonna be in there to start. If it's a kitchen, removing cabinetry. Also, a part of the job that is interestingly done differently by different people. We will remove everything so that it could be put back in place if it's salvageable in perfect condition whenever we can. Of course, there's going to be times when that's not possible, but our goal is to remove a granite countertop perfectly.
Yeah.
And we have the crews and techs that can do that. Get that affected materials removed. We will cut sheetrock, flood cuts 2 feet off the floor because there's water on the floor. That water is going to seep up into that sheetrock like a sponge. All that material is removed. Then we're going to bring in proper drying equipment, huge dehumidifiers, fans, air scrubbers to clean the air of any contaminants. We can get that equipment down. And the way we work, we'll have that done within 24 to 48 hours typically. That whole process will be done. And then that drying equipment will be in place to get the house, moisture levels under control. We maintain dry logs, things like that are needed for the insurance company, documentation, all the fun stuff that everyone wants to talk about. The more important part of that process is that you're not going to know all the questions to ask me in that first.
You don't know what you
2
don't
hours. And you're not going to. You're going to be so overwhelmed, and you're just going to want to get this thing moving. And what's going to happen over that next 48 hours is all these questions are going to start popping up in your head. So the magic is what happens when we leave your house. Are you going to call somebody and get an answering machine? Or are you going to call me at 8:30 at night and know that I'm going to answer the phone and walk you through those things to help keep you calm and make sure that you understand what this process is going to look like? And there's no secrets. We're going to walk you through every step. We're going to be candid. The process can be a little bit of a test on your patience. Once we get the initial work done, putting it back together is not always so easy. We have to get approvals from the insurance company. We have to get all of that authorized, justified, and then begin the rebuild process. So this can take 6-8 weeks, on the back end.
Yeah.
But that initial response, you'll be set to go within that 48-hour window on
That's
most
awesome.
most cases.
Now I get when Amy says, "Hope you don't need us, but here when you do."
We hope you don't need us, but we're here when you do. And that's really that's the secret to who we are. Yeah.
So, being that people don't know what they don't know, they go on vacation, they come back, something goes wrong in their house that they need to restored. Is there any preventative measures that people could take? Or is it just, just hope that your pipes are good and not too old?
Listen, there's things you should always do to be preventative, right? If you're going away on vacation, did you just shut your sprinkler system off? Did you clean out your septic tank, annually or whatever your usage level is, because that's what's going to cause backups. Are your pipes properly insulated? The old trick of when it's really, really cold outside in the winter, leave your faucet turned just an extra notch and let a little water flow so that way the water doesn't sit in the pipe and freeze. Did you actually fill your oil tank before you went on vacation? But with all that aside, this isn't a problem that is going to go away, and you can't be super preventative.
Yeah.
Statistically, this is an interesting one. 1 in every 5 pipes on Long Island is aged past the point that it is serviceable
Ooh,
and should be exchanged.
that's a
Right?
lot of pipes.
So when you think about that, but how do you know? It's buried behind sheetrock.
Yeah.
It's not like you're looking at it and going, "Oh, that pipe looks a little
I
old."
mean, at least for you, you picked a good place to start a restoration business. That means 1 in 5 people need you
That's on the
guys.
plumbing side. So on a restoration side, and these numbers are staggering, right? 1 in 60 homes will have a water damage. Forgetting about fire, 1 in 60 homes will have a water damage annually. And if you think about on Long Island, there's 8 million homes. There's 8 million residential units on Long Island.
Yeah.
That's 133,000 water damages a year on Long Island that take place that require insurance claims.
Okay.
And the average cost of an insurance claim is $14,000.
Oof.
So one, these issues exist, and they're not. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of things you can do to prevent them. But when you think about that cost, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money when you don't expect it. Again, when you plan a project, you budget for it.
Oh,
You don't.
that's why we have you guys there to fight for insurance, because I damn well know I'm going through insurance if it's average $14,000.
Correct. And that's on the low side. I mean, we all know averages. They say the
Yeah.
average income on Long Island is $82,000, and I'm not
Okay.
sure who's surviving on that. So
Yeah.
we know that the claim at $14,000 is probably very low ball.
Yeah.
And so what you need to do is make sure that we're getting the restoration done not cheaply, and we're doing that work up front the right way, and then that rebuild is being handled properly. You asked about tips and tricks. Another great one that's out there now is having these automatic shut-off valves put in your home. That is an
yes.
upfront trick you can put in. And, I don't know why I'm telling you this, because I don't mind a leak or two. But we again, in the interest of
Well,
caring.
what you're going to hear is someone be like, I listened to your podcast and I knew to put an automatic shut-off valve.
But I didn't.
But I
and so now I
didn't.
need you. Right. That's right. But those automatic shut-off valves are great, because what they do is when they detect water, leaks in a certain level, they will automatically cut the water off to your house. So that's really a very innovative way, and it's very popular right now, especially out here on the island. Way to sort of be preventative and have some forethinking in mind. But again, to your point, most people don't ever think of anything until after the fact. Most of the time, people are putting these in after we've gone and corrected their flood damage, and they're like, "We don't want to have this problem again." I'm like,
Let's put one in.
day late and a dollar short, but nevertheless, it's all good.
So how long have you been in the restoration business again?
So the company's been in existence as Brightside for 5 years. 3 years before that, I've been with the company for 2 years. I have a background in home services for quite some time.
Okay.
I was in the egress industry prior to this, so I'm very familiar with basements and foundations and flood and home. And my father-in-law was a home builder, and one of my heroes, quite honestly. So watched him over the years building houses. I know what goes into it. So part of that, what makes us good is understanding not just this again, taking something out and cutting sheetrock. It's the whole process that goes behind it, and really being able to offer advice and insight to customers, and helping them through the sort of the A to Z, not just the A to C. That's I think been critical for our success.
So since you guys been in business, I know the hot issues like AI. Like, has there been any technologies in the past 5 to 3 years that has helped you make your job easier?
That's a good question. I think the advances in equipment on our end, like that infrared technology, for example. Now we have these drying mats that we could put down to help restore wood floors. That you may have some wood flooring in your home that's absolutely precious to you. These drying mats go down, and they can help pull the moisture out of the wood, dry the wood, so that it doesn't necessarily need to be ripped out and replaced. But what I think I like about the industry, I'm 49 years old, so I'm kind of stuck in the middle. I love technology, but I'm not super savvy. What's really nice about our industry is that it's still a down and dirty, old school, hands-on type of work. And it's not replaceable by AI. So while the technology helps us be better and properly diagnose things and get your house restored quickly and efficiently. We're not in a situation where AI can replace what we do.
Yeah.
On the back end, administratively, there's probably tools that help us in terms of processing claims. And, we have some cool technology. Like, for example, we have to sketch all of our homes. And so we have camera equipment. We come in, people are always in awe. So we set up similar to what you have in the studio, but our camera takes 360 panoramics of the room, and we send that off. We upload it, and it sends us back full architectural sketches of the space.
Awesome.
So as opposed to the old days when I have to go in with graph paper and a ruler and start drawing this room out, we're in a position now where that does the work for us. It gives us a lot of detail in this space, right? So now I can sit back in my office at the end of the day, and I'm trying to put your claim together and make sure that we're, capturing all the work that was done, everything that was taken out. And this technology allows us to do that. And it allows us to then process those claims faster.
Okay.
So while the work at the front end is still a little down and dirty, that's where the AI, the technology, the upgrades comes into play, because it can help us move the process along a lot faster for you, which is, I think people appreciate it. Sometimes they don't even know it, but that's where the help is.
You talked a lot about homeowners, but are you in the commercial space
Yes.
as well?
So we love commercial work. Commercial work is super valuable. Again, it's all about response time in this business. If you're running an office and you have a bullpen and a fire sprinkler goes off and floods that basement, or there's a leak in
That's
that,
your business. That's where you make money. You gotta.
So you can't be down. We've done work this is an interesting one. We did work recently in an airplane parts facility right here on Long Island. And
I think I might know the airplane parts facility. Is it East West?
No.
Okay.
No, they're in Lynbrook.
Okay.
And it was interesting. They were gone for the weekend. A steam pipe burst.
Oof.
And this moisture just covered this entire facility. And when they walked in on Monday morning, it was just covered in mold and water damage. We got in there, got containment set up in this space, started rectifying the problem, and by setting up that containment, they were able to function outside of that space, still keep operations running, while we were able to get inside that now contained area and do all the mitigation work that was necessary to get out the affected materials, any mold, and then get them back up and running. But again, on site quickly, response team on site to start the work immediately, get that containment set up, and the process is the same in the residence as it is in the office space, but in that commercial space, again, they're even more valuable. They value more the quickness with which we can get things going, and again, we can help then get them right through into the rebuild process. We can, we have partners that we can get their phone lines run, and get them into another space in a building if we have to. So yeah, commercial work is great. We love it. We love all work.
How do you protect yourself in terms of like that long lead time when it comes to getting an insurance claim approved? Protect yourself, protect the client, because if you're finishing the work within like 24 to 48 hours because it needs to be fixed, but insurance, you got to fight insurance to come through weeks later. Like, how do you guys make sure that you get paid? How does the client make sure that nothing has to come out of, I'm assuming nothing has to come out of pocket, or just the minimum to come out of pocket, they get reimbursed? Like, how does that work?
So I'm going to answer that question a couple of ways. One is, as far as the homeowner or the property owner is concerned, on the commercial side, you're responsible in this process for your deductible. Same as if you had a car accident. You bring the car into the shop, your deductible is your out-of-pocket expense. They cover everything else. The same thing applies here. And interestingly enough, the mitigation work, that side of it, the customer pays nothing. We bill directly to the insurance companies.
Okay.
That's an important piece, because we always say that to the homeowner. You don't pay me directly, I'm never going to send you a bill unless the claim is rejected for whatever reason. So they're protected at all times, and they know what their out-of-pocket expense is going to be right up front with that deductible. We make that very clear in our initial consultation, that's going to come out of the rebuild side, right? So let's just say the cost of the rebuild is $20,000. You had $1,000 deductible. You're going to get $19,000 back.
Okay.
Makes sense. How do we protect ourselves? I'll tell you how we protect ourselves the best way I can, and that is by being knowledgeable and understanding what claims can be processed and can't be processed. What's an
Mm-hmm.
acceptable claim? So I'm not going to come into your house and tell you to call your insurance company and put a claim in unless we're fairly confident
Mm-hmm.
that is something that is covered by insurance. And the only way you know that is by being knowledgeable and
Yeah.
understanding. We take certifications in this. We go through a lot of education
Mm-hmm.
with insurance companies, with the IICRC, which is the basically federal governing body for water damage and
Okay.
proper mitigation techniques. So when we walk into your house, if I know that that's a pinhole leak that you didn't know, it's sudden damage that you weren't aware of, I know that's going to be a claim that we can get covered.
Yeah.
That's when we're gonna walk you through the process. If I walked into your house and I could see that that damage has been sitting there for 6 months, and you just decided to call me now, I'm gonna be very clear with you
Yeah.
that this isn't gonna be a coverable claim.
Yeah.
If you want us to do it, we'll do it, but
But
you're gonna have to pay
out of
because I'm
pocket.
not gonna put you in a position where you think it's gonna be covered and I hit you with a surprise later.
Yeah.
The first part of your question is, I think, also asking how do we get by with this lengthy process?
Yeah.
And this is where it's important to choose a good company. We are a well-established, healthy company.
Mhm.
We can wait 4 to 6 weeks for the money.
Yeah.
We're not living project to project.
Mm.
And I think that's a piece of advice I would give to anybody looking for any contractor to be in your home. You don't want to work with people that are beating you up for money and can't fund their own work.
Yeah.
I can work today and get paid in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We're in a good place, and that's an important thing because I'm not, again, looking there to just grab money out of your pocket.
Yeah.
We'll never ask you for money, So it's a relief. That's one of the few reliefs in this for customers is when
Yeah.
we're with them, we're saying to them, put your wallet away.
Yeah.
We just want to get you safe and healthy and make sure there's no issues in your home and get you, back up
Yeah.
and running. We'll deal with the insurance company. We'll make sure we get paid. You don't have
Yeah.
to worry about that.
Yeah.
It says a lot, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Shout out to Amy who deals with the insurance claims. For you
yeah, I got to
guys.
tell you, I have the easy job. Being in the field and dealing with the homeowner, that's the part I love.
Mhm.
Amy, the back end of this business, and it's something that unless you sat next to Amy all day and watched what she does to go through and diligently process these claims,
Yeah.
people don't realize in this business, we don't set our prices. So sometimes a customer will say to me, well, I want to just see what your bill is for mitigation. I'm always like, okay, if you want, I'll show it to you. But it has no value really
Yeah.
because we bill what the insurance company sets as the pricing. We all share a similar program,
Yeah.
and that's how these estimates are processed. And these really, really detailed, diligent, line item specific. Like I cut 2 feet off the floor for 10 feet. I had to remove a certain type of flooring. What kind of flooring was it? What was
Yeah.
underneath it?
Mhm.
And so to make sure that your claim is processed properly, what we mitigate is
Yeah.
what you're going to get to rebuild, right?
Yeah.
So it's Amy's job to go through our pictures and those
Yeah.
360 scans
Yeah.
and go through our project notes and make sure that she's getting into these estimates. Some of these estimates are 20, 30 pages long of capturing every one of these line items.
Be line
And
items for days. I could only imagine what the line item looked like for that commercial space you just talked about.
it's insane. And so I always say, like, I'm happy to be in the house. I'm happy to get my hands dirty. What she's doing is God's work. and again, when you work with anybody in this business, right? If you have a mitigation restoration company, you need that person on the back end that's working hard for you.
Yeah.
And so, you may never even speak to Amy, but she's the one that's making the magic happen for you.
Yeah.
So that's what, again, it makes us special is we have the right team. She's been doing this a long time.
How big is your team?
We have in office 4, 5. We have 2 full-time crews in the field going at all times. And then we have our, additional crews that we have on standby.
Okay.
We have a warehouse manager. So we are legit full-time
going.
running an operation. John and I are, again, this is a 24/7 business. And it legitimately is 24/7. We've been together in meetings
Yeah.
when Amy's walked in and been like, John had to go out on a call at
Yeah.
2 a.m. That's
she'll
what we
be in
do.
the middle of a meeting and she'll just pick up the phone and bounce.
That's what you have to be
Yeah.
to be successful and to be the right service provider for people. So And you know, like, while we're talking, it's important to tell people about other things. Fire is a big deal on Long Island too, right? And so when you have fire in your home, you know, that is an area where you can really be caught by vultures. It is a very, I'll say, seedy business on Long Island.
Yeah, you had mentioned a while back that people will be in front of your house as it's still on fire,
Yeah,
trying to get you.
literally, there's apps that you can have if you're in this in business, and it tells you where the fires are. And guys will in the industry show up on someone's lawn and basically torture the homeowners. Like, we're here, we're going to help you, and they're really pressuring people. And this isn't like a flood in your kitchen. This is like your house is on fire, and they want to kind of browbeat you into signing with them and letting them board your house up and then start this work. And they don't allow you the time to really process and make good choices.
Yeah,
And so, like,
shop
my
around, make
yeah,
the
a
good
little bit,
decisions,
a little bit.
see what you need
Yeah,
once
you
the
know,
adrenaline
make
runs.
sure it's going to be a long process. A fire claim can take 2 years. So the people that you're involved with, you're going to be involved with for some time. So you want to make good choices. And you know, so my sort of public service announcement to people is to, you know, if you find yourself sadly in that situation, take a deep breath. Don't be pressured to make bad choices. Evaluate what options are out there and make a decision about the company that you choose to be with you through this process, because that's again a really really lengthy, grueling, heart wrenching process, and so
Yeah.
you want to have people that can hold your hand through that.
You guys weren't around during Sandy, but I could only imagine what that was going to look like for everybody on the South Shore.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's guys in this industry that we know, you know, with the fires even in California, they pack up and they mobilize and they go out there because they want to work out there because they chase the work, you know.
Yeah.
So those kind of events can be certainly catalysts for us. We're you know, we're in the steady race. You know, we don't chase work. I'm never going to be the guy on your front lawn making you sad and miserable and making browbeating you. But it's important to know that you have people out there that help you through that stuff. Another interesting one, just to, you know, is something we call a puffback.
Okay.
So that's, you know, you kick on your boiler
Okay.
and black soot comes out of your vents.
Oof.
It's almost undetectable, but all of a sudden you'll see black marks on your ceiling where your stuff has this layer of soot on it. That's a coverable insurance claim.
Mm.
And that's another detailed process. We come out with a full crew, and they will literally clean every vase, lamp,
Okay.
figurine you have in your house to make sure all that's
Because then you're
removed.
breathing that in, and
Correct. We remove all the soot off the walls.
Yeah.
The coverable claim is that have it repainted. So, you know, again, there's a lot of things that go on with your home insurance that are vital. And if you run into these issues, you should call professionals in. And I'll circle back to the original, which it's always free to have us come in and be part of what you're doing and let us help walk you through the process. If you take the advice and run with it, great. You don't use us, it's also good. We just like to make sure we help you through the steps to make good choices.
okay. So as we wrap up here, where can we find you? How can people find Brightside? Someone's watching this right now and just like, ugh, something happened. I'm looking for the right person.
Brightsiderestoration.com. That's our website. You can call, you go on there. There's click to call. You'll find us on there. We are on Facebook, Brightside Restoration, Instagram, Brightside Restoration. And again, call us. We'll be out there. Take good care of you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate you for coming by.
This is awesome, Theo. Thanks for spending some time with us. We appreciate it.